Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of Just the Tips weekly win interview. Today we've got Rachael Garnett with us. Rachael, thanks for joining us today. How's it going?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. It's a pleasure to get another one of these interviews going, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how the AI persona method's been working for you. So to start off, how did you get into the program and when did you first join?
So I was actually at a seminar in Las Vegas and to see a gentleman named Marshall Silver. And Jeff made a presentation during that seminar. So I believe that was maybe late January, early February. And I have really been kind of nerd level obsessed with AI for the past 2.5 years or so. And when I saw Jeff, I was just like so incredibly excited that there was somebody who was, had a business and was doing consulting around AI. And at the time, my husband and I had just started like a B2B tech company. So, just selling phones, hardware, yada, yada, all of that stuff. And it really tanked very quickly, very spectacularly fast, like within a few months. And so, I had been talking about Jeff, and it took my husband, who's really kind of the idea person, to say, hey, you love AI, you love this. Let's get in touch with Jeff and talk to him. So it was a couple months later that we contacted Jeff, and it was twofold. We wanted to talk to him about a client who wanted to do some things with AI. But, probably within the first 15 minutes, I was already sold from months before. And I was like, I want to be an AI consultant. We want to completely turn our business around and help our clients with this AI persona method. So that's what we did.
Wow, that's an awesome story. Yeah, I think it's also familiar in the way that I met Jeff, because he's someone who really knows his stuff when it comes to AI. And I feel like the way he does his program is not like any of the others that you can see out there necessarily. So I think there's a definite value in the way he builds the community.
Oh, for sure. The community is probably, like, Jeff is fabulous, yes. But the community that he's built is just invaluable. And I think, part of the value that he gives us is this ongoing relationship with him and the community, with the weekly meetings and weekly learnings. And I love how involved the community is on Facebook. So I always know if I have questions, or if I need to share like, I can't believe that happened, that the community is really there to support. And there are so many people like Jeff in the community that are so incredibly knowledgeable. So it's not just coming from his one perspective, it's coming from a whole bunch of different people that we're getting all of this great, information.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a place where everyone's kind of nerding out over all the different areas that they're working in, which leads me nicely to, so you've been AI consulting now since January or February this year?
Well, no, so I think I became like an official consultant probably at the beginning of May. So I registered for the program, I believe, late March, early April. And it took about a month. I mean, I just really dove into the classes. And of course, I was like, I'm going to take my test. And I thought I was going to pass immediately, and I didn't. So that being said, the certification program, I think, is super rigorous in a good way. And what I really appreciated was that I didn't even pass the second time. It wasn't until the third time. But what I really appreciate was the feedback that I got from Jeff and his team to improve what I'm doing, to be more valuable to our clients. And also that it's really important to him that his students are representing well, and that we're just not like, teaching trash out there, that we're really, helping as much as we can. So I would say I've been certified since late April, early May.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's another key, is a lot of people will think that when you pay to join a certification program, that it goes without saying that you will pass and that you will get through that process straight away. And I remember the feedback that I got when I did mine, sort of the middle of 2023. And even though I did pass, there was a lot of feedback in there of like, this could have been better. This is how you could work that. And I think one of the things of AI is we have to keep at the forefront of it, right? Because it's changing so quickly. So I totally get that. So what about your work as a consultant? How is it working with you with clients? Are you onboarding clients regularly?
So we are. So I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and I would say, I don't want to say that Fort Worth is necessarily backwards, but people in Fort Worth are, business people are a lot slower to take on new technologies. So where I am, there is a lot of fear around AI. And we do, because this is even though people are afraid of it, it's a great market for us to be in. We do a lot of person-to-person networking, talking to people here. Of course, we would love to have clients from all over, but we have such a great market here. So your question was, are we onboarding clients? The answer is yes. We've really just been presenting on being able to educate and teach people how to use AI. And so my background is I have a nonprofit background. And so for me, that nonprofit niche fits really well because I'm able to speak their language, and I know so many of the ways that nonprofits need help in terms of, not having a large marketing budget, or even we're working with a nonprofit now that has a $10 million budget, but they have a specific program that doesn't have a marketing budget at all because it was just grant funded and they just wanted to, pay for the actual program and the program people. So that's some place where we've been able to go in and, help them develop a persona and help them with their, with their social media so that their one program person can, really utilize that for social media. So that's one place that we've, really kind of found a niche.
Wow. And I guess you did. Yeah, totally. I think two really good points there. So I think we'll come back to this one about the education side of things, because it's something that I've seen a lot of as well. But really if it wasn't for the AI and the things that you're showing these guys, then these non-for-profit organizations that are doing good for the world wouldn't necessarily be able to market themselves in the way that they now can.
Exactly. And that's where I was with my last organization and where I really started to lean into AI. I was writing grants and using it for newsletters and the social media marketing. So we're helping them do that. With this specific organization, we actually have just a training coming up where, and this is a segue, this is really an ideal client because the director said to me, AI is here. It's not going away. We don't know how to use it. And so she wanted to do a training for her entire staff, the social media people, all the educators, the program directors, so that they know how to use AI there so that they can work smarter and not harder. And she wants for them to be equipped when they leave. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love you because you're investing in your staff and you're really happy to do that. So, that's a presentation or a training that I was actually working on before we got on this call is, training,
nice.
The entire staff there. So I really do love that.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of where we are with AI, because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I've used it and I've dug into AI a bit. But usually what that means is they've used it as a glorified Google, basically. So like how to search for things like you would search for on Google. But I think there's so many people that don't yet have that understanding of the capabilities for marketing, the capabilities for contracting, for all the other things that take a hell of a lot of time in businesses that you can now do to a high standard and quickly if you know what to do.
Right. And so like for myself, for example, it takes me a really long time to write proposals. And so, for the few clients that we've, sent proposals out to in the past, week, last week I sent them out. We're getting responses this week. What I did, I just took our Fathom note taker and put those notes into my GPT and, had it write the proposal for us. And the proposals were amazing. And then, I just drop them into Canva. And so they look beautiful and send them out. And something that would take me literally probably all day. I know that's embarrassing. It would take me that long, but it does, ends up being, once it's all formatted and super pretty, a couple hours.
Yeah. And I can, to be honest, I think that's fair, because the amount of time you spend thinking and like figuring out, how should I word this? Should I change this to that? Like all of that time is sort of taken out. And of course you have to check it, but that check-in process is almost done as you're moving it into Canva, right? Like you're beautifying and editing at the same time, which is a huge time saver. And I think the NGO angle is really interesting. So at the moment I'm working with a company here in Vietnam, and we're doing a white paper for one of the biggest like wildlife protection agencies, and we're using AI to do all the qualitative analysis on all like the information that's coming in. So I can really see how that would work for NGOs and those kinds of businesses in general. And I think the education's a huge part of it. So I think that niche is great, right? It's not just marketing, it's actually showing people how to do it and how to use it.
Yeah. And so, that's one of, even I did a presentation here, and it was so surprising to me because people have heard of ChatGPT, but they haven't heard of Claude, they haven't heard of Perplexity, they haven't heard of Gemini. And so not only because they haven't heard of these, like especially they don't know how to use them together. And so it's really amazing to me when it's just this huge, like not even just an aha moment, but an, oh my gosh, like we can use all these things together. Chat is not good at everything. And so, it's knowing which ones to use for what. And so I think that's been eye-opening to me as well, because since we're so inundated in the AI space, AI is in all of my social media feeds, and we tend to think that everybody else's feeds look like ours, and they don't. So, just, I guess, being cognizant that people really don't know a lot about AI yet. And it is changing every day. That's another thing, going back to the value that Jeff's program adds, is that, people will be surprised when I say I'm training every week. And they're kind of like, why? Well, because AI is changing every week, and there's so much to know about it,
Yeah, I think, sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going back to the point you made there about people's social media feeds. And I think that's a really interesting point of value for all businesses, and not just from an AI perspective, because I've thought this a lot, where you go into YouTube and you see all this stuff and you think, everybody's looking at this same stuff and knows all this same information that I know. But in fact, it's the algorithms just giving you what you search for. So I think if people think, everyone knows this, in fact, they don't. It means you're an expert in that area. So that's a really, really cool point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that quite a bit.
Right. And I still, I'm just still surprised. You know what? I need to look at other people's feeds and see what they look like. Because, even just outside of AI, Matthew, my husband, who's also a certified consultant with Jeff, who is not on this call because he does a volunteer work on these evenings. Anywho, his feed is totally different from mine, just his regular, the things that he's interested in or, looks at. So I really would be interested to see what someone else's business feed looks like.
Yeah. I think there's a podcast in itself on that one at some point in the future, is how feeds affect people and what they look at and what they're seeing. And because again, social media can be very good if you're always looking at positive things or things that are designed to improve your business or your life, then your feed will get better and better and better over time. And if you're watching too much like rubbish or other things, then your feed's going to get worse and worse quality over time. And that's going to have an overall impact on how you operate in the world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it definitely is your mindset. I love all of my social media feeds. I think they're very curated perfectly for me and happy and uplifting, and of course lots of cats. So yeah,
cat videos are they've got to be there, right?
They have to be there. They do have to be there.
I love that.
I did want to say that I was first introduced to AI through the text to image generation. So I have a master's degree in art education. I'm an artist. And I also do upholstery, like furniture upholstery. Well, once I had done all of my own furniture and then I'm like being hired to do other people's furniture, that's a giant craft to have people's furniture in your house. Our house is, we live in a small historic home. So I thought, you know what? I need another hobby that's really tiny. This was like a friend of mine had gotten into the very first like Mid-Journey beta. And he had these images on his Facebook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Patrick, what are you doing? And so, I got in just in time. I got onto that beta. And then there were a couple of other text to image generation AIs that I was using at the time. They're still on my Discord. I don't remember what they're called, unfortunately. And then Stable Diffusion came out, which I didn't really like. But it was just so fascinating to me were the prompts and, giving the prompts in a certain order to, get the output that you want. Or, for me, I had seen an artist and he said, just pick a really mundane subject and do absolutely every single thing that you can with it. So, of course I picked cats and very mundane and just was making all these incredible images and cats made out of wood and glass and metal and, anthropomorphic and different things. And then I remember when I was able to get the exact number of cats in the image that I wanted, that was a really big deal. And again, it just all had to do with the way that we're ordering those words. And so the text-to-text generation to me is also, I think it's so fascinating being able to use words and prompts or instructions, information to get out the information that we need. And, being able to load data into, the text-to-text generation is great. And now, I still am in love with Mid-Journey. I use it the most. But now, it's like I can do character references or background references, or I can load text in, before I do a prompt. So it knows what I want it to say and it will spell it correctly. So it's just improving all the time.
Yeah. And I think with Mid-Journey, since they had V6, some of the quality of the photo realistic images are just insane. So I can totally understand all of that. And then the prompt engineering side becomes even more essential. So yeah, I totally understand all of that, and I think the image generators are a good grounding for the prompt engineering as well, because you're seeing exactly how that's reacted. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. So Rachel, that sort of brings us to an end. But if people want to find out more about your business and the presentations that you're doing in the education side of AI, where should they get in contact with you?
So the best place to get in contact with me is on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn profile name is Rachael, Rachael Leventhal, Leventhal Garnett, Garnett. And then our company is called Ease AI. And so they can also find us there on LinkedIn. So it's capital EAA, capital SAI. And then our website is eaaservice.com. I am actually working on building our website right now. So that's why it's the last thing that I talk about, but it is there and people can, see a little bit of what we're doing right now and get in touch with us there.
That's awesome. Thanks. And we'll put the links in underneath as well so that people can click through that way on YouTube too. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Rachael. I appreciate your time today. And thanks for all the insights.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this time with you, Jack.